Hey everybody, welcome back to my show. I am Allison, a devotional heart, and I'm super excited today. My guest is a very cool guy that I'm just starting to get to know online. His name is Jerry, and he's very well known. And he's also known as Exposing Powerful Lies on his YouTube channel. And we know him because he's in a lot of the chats on Youre, Church of the Eternal Logos, all the great live streams, and he's a moderator. He's a moderator for my channel, and today is going to be my second premiere YouTube. So I'm really enjoying communicating with you guys in the chat. So make sure to subscribe to my channel so you can be notified when I do my premieres. I'm not doing live streams yet. I will soon, and I'm actually also hoping to do like a weekly rambling kind of like just talking about what's on my mind kind of a thing. It's outside of my box of what I normally would feel safe doing. So I'm kind of going to be like getting out of my comfort zone and sharing more about my life. And for those of you who are new to the channel, please know that I am not a baptized Orthodox Christian yet. That's going to be sometime in my future, God willing. And the point of this channel is not to teach or be like a spiritual teacher of any kind at all. I'm just sharing my journey into Orthodoxy from the New Age, because if there's one thing I could talk about all day long is my experience of how I got out of the New Age. And we're going to be talking about that today. So actually more along the lines of the occult. Jerry spent a couple years in the occult, so I'm wearing my starry witchy shirt to celebrate this super fun interview that we're about to have. So Jerry, thank you so much for being here. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me as well. You want me to introduce myself? You just kind of introduced me, so
Yes,
okay.
please
Yeah.
tell us about your channel and just how you, well, I'm so excited to find out about how you discovered Orthodoxy, but we'll get that in a little bit later. So just introduce yourself, and then let's just get into like how you got into occult kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure. My name is Jerry, Exposing Powerful Lies. Just a goofball, a trans doctor, and a bigot. And yeah, I have a YouTube channel that I started a few years ago before I became Christian. And I've been doing like foraging for 8 to 10 years. I've been traveling for a while, and got really into learning about plants and edible food and stuff like that. So I started out the channel. That was the first video I ever did, was like foraging behind a 7-Eleven, just showing like, oh, you can find all this stuff behind a grocery store. You can find it.
Dumpster diving?
Not dumpster, no, like foraging, like finding wild edible plants, medicinal plants, stuff like that.
Behind a building?
Oh yeah, you can. Oh yeah, some of the best places. Now, I wouldn't recommend eating those plants or using them, but you can find a lot of interesting things and identify them. And then if you go out to places that are further away from roads and stuff with a little less pollution, then you can, use that skill that you've learned to identify those plants to harvest them and stuff. But yeah, I like to show people the abundance and the health benefits that these plants can give and stuff. And they pop up, behind. I see them behind grocery stores, all sorts of stuff. I find wild carrots, wild grapes, all sorts of stuff. I mean, I could talk about that for a while. I don't want to go on a tangent, but
that's so interesting.
Yeah, so that's how I started the channel, and then was very into like current events, like political stuff. So made videos like that, and looking back, it's like super cringy because I wasn't a Christian. I didn't know anything, I thought I knew, and that's what makes it even more cringy. So I've gone back and deleted like half of the videos that I ever made on this channel.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I always tell people, if you find a video on my channel where I'm saying something that's like not right, just leave a comment so I can delete the video, because I don't go back and check the videos that I make. So I'm sure back in the day, before I learned the truth of Christianity, I'm sure there's something on my channel. So I don't want people to see that and be like, oh, this is how he is. Like, no, that's how I was,
Oh, that's really interesting, because I've been trying to decide if I should delete my old Instagram
Yeah.
or just leave it to show, because we'll get into this a little bit, but and you use this word cringy, and I totally know what you mean. It's embarrassing in some ways, knowing and remembering how deceived we were before we were Christians.
Right.
But it also shows our journey, and I don't know. I mean, I probably will delete my old Instagram, but I also would like to bring those people into my new Instagram somehow,
Right.
if they were curious at all about the Bible, and because my old Instagram is like the new agey kind of healing community, spiritual community people. And so I don't know, maybe you guys watching, let me know what you think. Should I delete my deceived Instagram grid when I was just a silly new ager, or should I use it to try to bring people over to my new
Yeah,
I really don't know.
I went through that
What
same.
you're saying. I hear what you're saying. You don't want people to associate you with those.
Yeah, I went through that same exact question in my head, as I was, because I had that same exact thing, like, well, it does show my journey, so should I keep it, should I not? The thing is that and this ties in with the occultism, after that kind of political video phase and that kind of stuff, I started getting into occultism, and I started recording audiobooks of Kabbalistic books, like the Tree of Life, the mystical Kabbalah, some Hermeticism stuff. Like, I started recording full audiobooks, and those got a lot of traction, and they started bringing a lot of subscribers and had thousands of views and stuff like that. And that's why it was kind of a tough decision, because I'm saying, okay, well, these videos are bringing a lot of people into the channel. And even once I became a Christian, I was like, well, should I keep these up, because they're bringing a lot of people in, and it could expose them to the truth and to the church. But ultimately, I felt that it was not the kind of people that I necessarily wanted to be subscribers on the channel. A lot of them would come in and will be like, what is this? And then just start spurging out.
Yeah.
And then also, I felt bad, because I knew that, there's going to be people that come here to view this information, and this information is deception. And I've already deceived so many people by participating in this and spreading this. I don't want to push anybody else down that path. Like, I'm already going to be repenting for this for the rest of my life. So
right. Yeah.
I don't want any more of that. So I deleted all of them. And the channel, it hasn't hurt the channel at all. It seems to have helped. And now the people that subscribe, I know, are subscribing because, they are Christian or inquiring, or at least not extremely opposed to it. You know what I mean?
And so the title of your channel is Exposing Powerful Lies.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to say I've only watched a few of your videos, but I will watch more. But are you exposing the occult now? Do you make content that says, like, this is what the occult is really all about, and you might think you're so woke and you're not being affected by the New World Order, but actually by being an occultist, you're playing right into their hands? Like, this is
Right.
a huge thing for people to realize that, when I was a new ager, I was a Luciferian. I had no idea. I want to write a book called I Was a Luciferian, and I had no idea, because all my beliefs were just exactly what the enemy wanted me to think was truth, and to deny Christ, and to reject the Bible, reject Christianity, reject all of it. I was playing right into the hand of what Lucifer and the dark, the enemy wants for us. So is that the kind of thing you talk about?
Yeah, definitely. And it makes it seem so good, especially in the new agey stuff. Like, it's all good, positive vibe, good, high energy, positive stuff. But yeah, it's absolutely Luciferian. And if you know the truth, then it kind of shows it in a new light, and you realize, okay, so the channel isn't focused on that. I wouldn't say that that's a mission. The story of the name is kind of, so I still don't even like the name of it, but it's just become a brand. It's become a recognizable name, so it's kind of like, okay, I'm fine with it. The channel was called Powerful Lies before, because I talked about the New World Order and the stuff, and anytime somebody didn't like what I was saying, they just come on and say, "Oh, powerful lies. Yeah, that's your channel, bro. That's what you're talking about right now. You're saying powerful lies." And it was just like a recurring thing that just people always said it. So I went, okay, exposing powerful lies now, make it a little more obvious that I'm not, but yeah, and then put the semicolon live stream so that people in the chat would know that I actually do produce content and I'm not just like a username. And me and Tristan kind of joke about that a lot, how it's like the longest name possible. So I don't like the name, but it's just become, I'm kind of stuck with it now. Yeah, I do talk about occultism and about the truth behind it, through my experience. But really the channel is just me, that's what it says in the description. It's like, this is just who I am. And it's just my opinions and my views and my experiences on life. And yeah, I'm opposed to the New World Order. I'm opposed to the Luciferian agenda. I think that their narratives are powerful lies in this world. And I think that, Christians speaking the truth are exposing those lies. So I think it is somewhat fitting, if not somewhat of a mouthful of a name, but yeah, I definitely cover occultism and the deception of that. But I really like to have these conversations with people, especially since getting involved in the orthosphere. There's so many good people in the chats. There's so many good people that I've met. And it's great to just have conversations and talk about what we've all experienced and where we're at and where we're going,
Yeah, it is. So tell us your story.
All right. So when I'd say probably around 13, I became an anarchist. I'm sure a lot of us also shared that view. Freedom, bro. Like, ain't no government gonna tell me what to do. My dad showed me like the I don't want to say the name. The Schmalik Schmones videos and stuff, like the old desk tapes that he used to do. So my dad used to show me those. So from a very young age, like I kind of realized, okay, the narrative on the mainstream news is not the full truth. There's espionage. There's a deeper dynamic to global power, right? So that kind of informed, that came into play a lot later in my life, but that kind of set the groundwork for understanding that, like, okay, the TV and cultural narrative, is filled with deception and lies. I went very hard into the liberal lefty anarchy sort of mentality that a lot of young people do, because it sounds good. It sounds, nice. You just want to be a nice person. You want everybody to have, the equals, money and equal resources and freedom and stuff like this. So that was a big part of who I was, and kind of was hippie, like into the Grateful Dead, like super into all that stuff. And once I got into high school, like that's how I became known. Everybody knew me. I wasn't in any particular clique. I was just friends with everybody. There's some people that didn't like me, but I was friends with most people and most of the teachers and stuff. And I was just known as the dirty hippie in school, the very outspoken anarchist. I mean, I love to talk. I love to, I believe in truth, and I've always wanted to fight for what's right. And at that point, that's what I felt was right. So I promoted that very heavily and was very outspoken about it. And that led me.
Can I interrupt you and tell you something? If we had been the same age and we were in the same high school, we would have been such good friends, Jerry, because I feel like you're talking about me. I was the one, I wanted to start the environmental club at my school, the human, as part of the human rights club, animal rights club, and all the like protect, save the environment kind of clubs. And yeah, it was like this drive in me to like I gotta tell people what's really going on. And I was vegetarian. Were you vegetarian?
I was, yeah. I was vegetarian and vegan for a while, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I was going to Grateful Dead shows and everything. So I just wanted to throw that in there, that we have a lot in common already.
Yeah. I was at the Fairly Well Grateful Dead, last concert or whatever in Chicago when Trey from Fish was playing. That was when I started traveling. But yeah, so that sort of led me into, because I took it very seriously, the whole anarchist thing. And once I was probably about a sophomore in high school, I started volunteering with the group Food Not Bombs, which is like an anarchist collective.
Yeah,
and I met a lot of people in the local community who shared my views and were very involved in activism and direct action and stuff like that. Got involved with the group Earth First, which is an environmental monkey wrenching group. And through that experience kind of became dismayed with all of it. Sort of saw that my idealism, what I thought this was, in reality, in the real world, wasn't actually what was going on. That there was more to it, that people like me were being used for a greater purpose, for a greater agenda, which, it took me many years to really understand the scope of what that is, and the Luciferian aspects behind it, and where the deception is and where it's wrong. And even though it sounds great and it sounds like, oh, we're just fighting for the earth, it's like not what it appears, and saw people go to jail for very harsh sentences, doing what they believed was right, and really just getting thrown into the wood chipper, for some of the organizers to collect paychecks, just to get the crowd at this place where the cameras would be, so it could be on the news, so that they could get their legislation passed that they wanted, or they could get their message out. And that's really what propelled me out of the left, out of this sort of anarchist idealism, and into not necessarily the polar opposite, but I started to listen more to the other side, and I became very much a conservative. It took a long time for me to get to that point, which I've also grown out of, especially after the last 4 years that we lived through before this president. But yeah, became very much a patriot, sort of AJ, America constitutionalist, 1776, that sort of thing. And yeah, from that point, it became, and really my whole life was sort of I was a truth seeker. I wanted to know the truth. I knew that there was deception. I knew that there was lies. And I wanted to know what is the truth, and I didn't know really where to even look for. I just was voraciously trying to read as much as I can, learn as much as I can about geopolitics and about the elite and all this stuff. And that is what led me into, researching things like Freemasonry and Kabbalah and Hermeticism and this stuff. That sort of idea that this is a set of tools or knowledge that the elite use to keep the people down, and that if we learn that we are literally God, bro, that we could escape their prison, escape their oppression, and realize our true potential and that sort of stuff. And that's when I entered into the whole occultism studying and participating in that sort of stuff. And that was really the journey that led me up to that, was going through these phases. And that's a very broken down version. I've spoken at length about different parts of that story more in depth. But yeah, so I started reading all of these different books on occultism and witchcraft and stuff like that, and started practicing it. And yeah, I believed that stuff for a long time, and it wasn't until I started to really contend with Orthodoxy, because I'd been raised Christian my whole life. I had been raised Protestant on one side, and I went to a Catholic school from my mom's side. That was more of a Catholic influence, and gone to church every Sunday. And then while I was in Catholic school, gone to mass every Friday. And I felt I understood Christianity. I thought, okay, well, I know all the stories, I was told this stuff. I went to Sunday school, like I know this stuff, and this is just nonsense and naivety, and it's just dumb, like that was just the view I had of it. And it was until I found debates from people like Jay, where actually like arguing these points with the people that I thought weren't deceived, the people that I thought saw through the deception, that I realized how weak those worldviews were and how they didn't hold up, and how this thing that I thought was dumb was actually more intelligent and more full of truth than what I thought was the truth.
Were you reading the Bible when you were Christian before? Were you like really like letting the Bible speak to you?
I would do like the thing where I would open it up and just read here and there, but not much. No, I would get it from church, my understanding of it, but no, I didn't really read it back then, which is a big problem. Probably
and
part of
you didn't know about Orthodoxy yet, right?
No, I had no idea.
And then was it Jay Dyer that got you interested in learning about Orthodoxy?
Yes, yeah, Jay, and then Tristan. I started talking to Tristan shortly after that. So yeah. When I was traveling, because I'd done so from the age of 19, even up until last year, like I would hop trains and hitchhike and stuff like that, and just travel the country. And people would always pray for me and stuff. You know, you'd meet like a group of Christians. Oh, can we pray for you? I would say, yeah, sure. You know, go for it. I'll take your good vibes, bro. Like that's the way I look at it, you know.
Yeah, good.
But I always kind of felt like I was above them, you know, like all these silly people, you know, with their fairy tales or whatever. Just that normie take that everybody has. And yeah, I thought I understood it. And then once I started finding those lectures and those debates, it really kind of showed me the inadequacy of my own understanding of what Christianity really is and what it's about. And really, at that point, I had learned enough about the world and I had experienced enough in the world to contrast it with what I had, you know, night, Dad. To contrast it with what the world was offering. You know what I mean? That sorry, that kind of threw me off a little bit.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I love this topic so much because it's like when we get the wool pulled off of our eyes, and now we have discernment and we can really see how we were deceived, and then you start seeing the deception everywhere you look. Like you can't help but see that it's actually deception. Like I talk about how I was on Facebook for years. I cannot go back onto my Facebook feed because there is just continuous Luciferian doctrine being taught on there because I was part of the secular coaching world for so long, and all this stuff about manifesting and, you know, evolving and name it and claim it kind of stuff that's so worldly and is so self-centered, self-love, self-care. Oh, you need to just like accept yourself more, and it's all about like finding your way and your purpose. And I'm sorry if I sound critical or like judgmental, but I literally cannot look at that stuff because now all I care about is glorifying God, and it's like the most important thing in my whole life is to be a servant of God. And there's nothing about being a servant of God on my Facebook feed because I wasn't following Christians. I was following witches and coaches who teach manifestation stuff.
Yeah, and it's like pride, you know. It really I'm missing the word here, but it kind of instills pride and this the spirit of the age. The whole time, you know, I thought I was so aware and it's so learned, you know, and just felt like I had understood more than most people and was so full of pride, you know. And when you find the truth, it really does like knock you down all the way down, and you realize like, oh, the opposite is true. Like, you know, the spirit of the age is so antithetical to what the truth is, and what the world promotes and what the world values and what the world tells you is important is like the opposite to what really is important, you know. Yeah, the whole self-love and what do they call it? It's just silly. It is very silly.
Oh, ascension, the ascension community, like the new earth, where our consciousness is evolving now to become this new earth. And so once there's like a critical mass of awakenings, and so people are doing psychedelics and having these awakenings. And so as soon as a certain number of people hit this level of consciousness, then it's going to explode and the whole, all of humanity will be healed and we're going to have this new earth. Did you ever hear that theory?
Absolutely, yeah. And it really is a like a revolutionary spirit, you know. It's this idea, that the world is broken, but we're gonna fix it. Us, like, me and you together, we're just gonna learn enough and we're just gonna expand our mind enough and
be high vibe.
Yeah, be high vibe enough and get our kundalini and our chakras spinning and
keep on doing Reiki and all these healing things and getting more knowledge, more gnosis, like learn this tradition, pick and choose, make your religion however you want, from Buddhism and Hinduism. Just pick the parts you like, even pick some Bible verses that you like if you want, because
right. And it really is just a rejection of Christianity. I mean, that is what it is, and it pretends to not be. It pretends to be above that. But when you get down to the core of what it is saying and promoting, it is a rejection of everything that the church stands for, and that's what really is opened my eyes to it. Is like I was saying, seeing it contrasted, seeing the church contrasted with what the spirit of the age tells us, what culture tells us, really made it very clear for me. Like, oh, this is Luciferian. This is like anti-Christian.
Yes.
You know, this is not some other thing that's like exotic and that I've never come across before. This is just like the opposite of what the church is telling us. You know.
So why orthodoxy? So if you were to meet someone who'd never heard of the Orthodox Church, what would you tell them why this is your path and why you're going to an Orthodox parish?
I'd say apostolic succession. I'd say, you know, it's the tree that all these other branches have come off of. I'd say it's the Church of Christ and the Apostles, and it has the most solid, complete, and true theology that I've come across, and also just the experiences that I've had there. It's just something that I don't know, I was drawn towards, and that having been there, it's helped me in so many ways, and I just kind of feel the grace of God in the church. And coming in, apologize about that. Let me change do not disturb so that doesn't happen.
Okay. Yeah, I would just add to that. For me, it's like the fullness. It's so deep. There's so much depth, and the more I go to church, the more I speak with the other parishioners, my priests, people like you, connecting with our friends in the chat, and then messaging in Instagram with people that are also coming to Orthodoxy. It's so incredible and amazing. And even though I started reading the Bible a year ago, I was one of those like, oh, I don't need church. It's about me and God. It's my relationship with God. That's all that matters. And I have my Bible, and religion is, you know, man-made, and I don't need it. And so not to, again, you know, sometimes I feel uncomfortable saying these things because I know a lot of people believe this. A lot of my friends that I'm still talking to who are Christians really, really believe this, that the Orthodox Church, you know, we have these icons. What is that? That's pagan, you know, and all of that kind of ideas that they have.
Yeah.
I wasn't raised in Western Christianity, so no one ever put that in my head that this is, you know, having icons and kissing the icon and the way.
Yeah, and that's the shame of it, is that these, you know, a lot of people that hold these views, it's like they think that they're like, that they've like have this gotcha on the church, and it's like, this is stuff that was debated and contested and dealt with long time ago. You know, it's like the Seventh Ecumenical Council on the iconoclast. Like, these people don't know church history, and they don't know that like this argument has already been like ran into the ground, and like if you were just in the church, you'd know this. You know, and that's I've talked to people who are very, you know, either vehemently anti-Christian, or they're like you said, they're against the church. And it's like, if you came to the church, they would tell you what you're saying now, and they'd explain why you're wrong and where you're wrong, and they'd give you the sources for it. And you'd actually understand your position that you're saying better than you understand it now, if you actually just dealt with, you know, the church and the people who know what they're talking about, and who know their church history, you know.
So I want to remind my viewers that I have a recommended videos playlist on my channel, and there's a great lecture on church history called Finding the Church That Jesus Built. And this lecture has been around for a long time. It was recommended by Brother Augustine. And the comments, guys, read the comment section, because this lecture has converted so many Protestants to Orthodoxy, because it is history. And there's 8 lectures, but the first one is really good. I highly recommend everybody go and watch that right now. But yeah, church history. Yeah. Once I learned the church history, it was like Orthodox is
right. And what you, that I'm glad you brought up Finding the Church Jesus Built, because that was also very important for me as well. Under, you know, grappling with the truth of Orthodoxy. Yeah, that is a great video. Also got watched that through Brother Augustine's recommendation. Really, really good. So I second that recommendation. You should definitely check that out, to the listeners listening.
And Brother Augustine says the people who are most critical of the Orthodox Church are also the ones who don't know anything about it. Like they know the least about it.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. What you said about the like the depth and the fullness of the theology and of the teachings, it's like it really is. It feels like endless, endless growth, endless room to walk up
it's
that
not
ladder.
in the same, and isn't it interesting? It's so different than the New Age
Yeah.
endless search where it's like the snake eating its tail and it's just the carrot out in front of you. Oh, well, if I read this or learn this, I'll get to the next level. Or like the Freemasons, they have their levels and the unveiling of the secret knowledge, and this is not like that at all. This is like
No.
the opposite of that, but also similar in the way that it's just so deep. I don't know
Yeah.
if I'm explaining it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And on that subject, like when I was studying all these different mystery traditions, occultic traditions, right? They always claim this secret knowledge that's so transformative. And I found it so hollow and empty.
Yeah.
And it was like every once in a while you'd come across something and you'd be like, oh, that's true. Oh, that's cool. That's interesting. Right. But then it's like when I started to read the Bible, when I started to like read the saints and read the church fathers, it's like I felt that all the time. Like every word, every sentence, I'm like, oh,
Yes,
this is really true. Like this
yes.
is wow, like it's not hollow and empty like some of these other things.
And it really does transform your life and your
Right.
heart and the way and the fruits, your life changes,
Exactly.
your relationships change, um I, I just did an interview with Michael Cisco and there were so many, I went off on all these tangents. I forgot to finish some of my thoughts, but I had mentioned that I had struggled with depression for most of my life and anxiety, and Christianity was the thing I was avoiding, but it was the medicine that I really needed. I still
Exactly.
have hard days. Life is struggle. I'm gonna be struggling the rest of my life, but my faith and the church and this path I'm walking now, it's a restful place. I'm not so anxious. Like, what's my life's purpose? I always wanted to know, like, my life's purpose and
Mhm.
then like we were talking earlier, like the self-love. Oh, I need more self-care. And no, it's about glorifying God and resting in Him. And sorry, I get very excited.
I know, I'm glad you said that because that is what I meant earlier when I was talking about when you asked me why the Orthodox Church, and I said, well, it's because of the experience I had. That life transformation is what I meant by that. So I'm glad you said that because you worded it a lot better than I did.
Oh,
But yeah, exactly. It's like you know it by its fruits. You know it by the way that it has changed our hearts and sort of um, brought us, like you said, to that restful place of understanding where you're supposed to be going, what is good, what is wrong, and
and
um,
go back to what you were saying about pride. I think this is like the biggest.
yeah, right. Is that yeah, we have to acknowledge that the wrong that we've done in our lives and the rejection of God, and we are sinners, and that is a very shameful thing. It's like when you really understand, like, oh, I'm not this great person. I'm not this,
God.
um, I'm not this moral judge of everyone else. Yeah, I'm not this one that creates right and wrong or gets to decide what it is. I need to, conform my will to God's will. You realize not how you've been not doing that for so long,
Yes.
and that knocks the pride right out of you because you're like, wow, okay, God's given me everything and I've spit in God's face my whole life. Like I actually need to but it's through that, and God's so full of mercy that it's like it's through that we repent and that we stop doing that. And that's like the most amazing thing. Like that is the life transformation. Yes, we still sin, yes, we still fall, but we have our eyes towards the good, and we know what's good, and we know where to walk towards, and that changes your life more than anything ever else anything else ever could. Yeah.
Sherry, you're making me cry.
Oh well, sorry about
You're so wise. You're so young. You and Pano. I'm like, you guys. I'm
well,
so
I appreciate
jealous.
you
Like,
saying
how did you
that. I
get
think I'm wise,
so
but
wise, so young? I'm like,
yeah, I think I'm tarded, but I really appreciate you saying that. That makes me feel good. I always tell people I'm brain damaged because I just feel like it explains things a little bit better. That way, if you hear me say anything stupid, it's just like, oh, okay, he's brain damaged. It's
No,
fine.
I love your sense of humor. I think you're so much fun. So, it's interesting. We've been talking about all this delusion and deception and stuff. We haven't really talked about drugs and psychedelics. And I remind everybody when I talk about this, it's not to create any kind of what do you call it? Like get people like excited to do drugs.
Romanticization.
Yes,
You're not trying to
I'm not
romanticize.
doing that. I'm not, or like glorifying it in any way. I'm like, please do not do drugs. But they were part of your path and my path too. And they, for me at least, they contributed to that sense of pride and enlightenment. And like, oh, and now I have the answers to the universe. And these poor Christians who've never dropped acid. Oh, those poor people, they'll never know the truth that we're all one,
They don't understand cosmic consciousness. That's
Yeah.
the problem. That's the
Yeah.
problem. They haven't opened their third eye. Their chakras are all blocked up because they haven't tripped on 2CB. So, and they haven't gone to a rave and taken MDMA. So they just don't get it. They don't get it. It's funny how all these drugs, all these people that take them, they always come out with the same exact views, and how much of that is culture, how much of that is the drugs actually opening their minds up to a level of reality that is populated by demons that share the same sort of prideful Luciferian, deception that they want us to buy into, which is that you are God and that nature's God and that you're one with nature and with everything. I am you and you are me and nothing matters. Everything is nothing. It's nihilism. It's Satanism. It's Luciferianism. It's what it is,
And the
But
dissolution
it
of
sounds so
boundaries.
cool though. It sounds so good. It
Yeah.
sounds so peaceful. Oh yeah, like we're the best. Like everything's cool, bro. Like,
All
and it,
love. We're all just consciousness experiencing itself and like getting to have this experience of love with one another. I mean, I took ecstasy and ayahuasca and mushrooms, and it would make me feel so euphoric and connected, and I think that I was searching for that so much during my life, from childhood, having a pretty rough experience as a child, not having safety or like seeing my parents in a loving relationship. I didn't have that. And I think that these experiences with these people that were searching for that same sense of love and connection, we just created this culture where that's what we wanted, and then we fully believed that that was the truth.
yeah.
And
It also has this aspect to it of this like false polarization, because the same people that promote this materialistic worldview, that same, I shouldn't say people, but people do have a part to play in this, but that same spirit, that same Luciferian spirit that promotes this idea of, scientism and materialism are also the ones that promote this hippie new age thing. And it kind of shoves you into this dialectic of like, well, that's, I take this and that's spiritual. Oh, there is a spirit world. Like, this is what it is, and yeah, I bought that hook, line, and sinker, man. When I was younger, I thought that these psychedelics were like, religious sacrament, and now when I like argue with people, they'll say, "Oh, you just didn't do it right," or It's like, I've done this stuff so much, and 99% of my experiences were positive, were happy, fun times. That doesn't make them good. Like, it's not like I did it wrong and just like had a bad trip. It was like, oh, it's bad. It's like, no, I had great times, and that was evil and wrong. And it's this thing of like, it was fun, so that means it's good,
right.
is just dumb. Like, no.
That's the
Yeah,
deception of Lucifer, the false light.
right.
And if it wasn't beautiful and it wasn't fun, I wouldn't have kept on doing it. It wouldn't have been appealing to me. And
Right. And like you said, it does instill pride, because then you come out of these trips and you think you're this enlightened being. You've experienced God, and everybody else doesn't know. And everybody else needs to try this stuff. They need to awaken their sleeping mind. They need to wake up and try this stuff. It's like, it just creates so many like these fake gurus, and they're so transparent. But when you're a kid and you don't know nothing, it's like you get wrapped up in this stuff, especially with culture, with the promotion of drug and drug culture. Like, Hunter S. Thompson and these rock bands and these movies and these things that are like, this is super cool. I grew up as a young kid, like craving to try LSD so hard from a young age because of these movies. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I had to try it. Like, whoa, this has got to be crazy. You know what I mean? So when I like my first year of high school, my freshman year, I was like, oh, I'm in high school now. I definitely can find this stuff. And within 1 week, I had acid. I literally found it from these kids. And I walked around with it in my wallet for like 2 weeks, just like spurging out, like, oh my God, I have it. Wow. Like, this is crazy, you know? And yeah, I mean, I got full on into all of that. I mean, I could give you a list, but we'd be here for like probably a half hour of all of the different things I had taken because I had wanted to try everything, you know. At that point, I wanted to try everything. And it's just, I don't regret anything because it's made me who I am today.
Me too.
But there is a shame and repentance for what I did, and mainly for the people that I influenced. That's the thing that really makes me sad, is because I was so outspoken and I was so like proselytizing the satanic religion to people. You know, that's something that I really I not regret but repent for. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. I like that because I've been struggling with that too. Because I've been repenting for a year. And then the other day at church, my future godmother was saying at my baptism, it's just going to be like washed clean. And
Yes.
then she's like, and then you can just move on with your life. You don't have to keep on feeling so ashamed of that.
Right.
And that gave me some peace. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, at baptism, you know, we receive the grace of God, you know, the gift of grace, and after that, it's about protecting it. You know, it's about not falling back into, you know, the old anti-Christian lives that we lived, because that is such an amazing gift, and is to be protected for sure.
Oh, yeah, that's a real protection. In the New Age, they say, let your spirit guides protect you, or imagine some white light, you know. And literally, I mean, 2 years ago or less, actually less than 2 years ago, I still believe that.
Right.
I was reading the Bible and I was doing an evening devotional meditation, but I still thought I had to imagine the gold ball
Right.
of light around me. No, God is our protector. The Father is our protector, not some imagined energy
Right.
of like new agey white light.
Yeah, and Orthodoxy, you know, also informs us that the imagination is the battleground, right? It's like, of course, that's where they want you to imagine these things. They want you to be deceived, you know.
Right.
It's like
So talk about that and how the emotions too, how in the
right.
New Age, when something feels good, like you said, or maybe we were talking before we started recording, when something feels good, it must be good. If it feels good, like they teach you like trust your intuition, listen to your body. How does it make you feel? Well, in Orthodoxy, we don't do that.
Right. Yeah, we check everything against tradition. We check everything against the church and the teachings of the church and the same faith that has been passed down to us. And that is like the best thing, because it helps prevent us from being deceived. It's easy for people to be deceived, you know. We're so prone to it because we're vain creatures in a lot of sense, you know. Without the grace of God, we're really easy to trick and fool, and we're especially proficient at fooling ourselves, you know. And I'm sorry, what was the question?
I just have to tell you again, you're so wise for your years. I'm not trying to like, I don't know. I just keep thinking because you're only in your early 20s, right?
I'm 27, and I'll chalk that up to just experience, because I have lived like like when you go and hop trains and live on the street, like you're in the real world, you're dealing with stuff. So I have a lot of experience, but I like the quote that says it's better to tell a wicked man he's wicked than to tell a righteous man he's righteous, because you don't want to pluff somebody's head up. Like
I know, and that's why I said I don't mean to keep on saying this.
I'm not claiming to be righteous either. because
You're
I'm the
what?
furthest. I said I'm not claiming to be righteous either, because I know you said wise. But I'm just saying, like, I am the furthest thing from wise, righteous, or anything like that. I do appreciate your compliments, though. I understand what you're saying.
I guess what I mean is that you're creating content, you're like we're talking right now, sharing our stories, and it just hopefully is inspiring and plant some seeds for some people that are relating to things that you're talking about and the experiences that you've had. And do you want to share more about, for people who don't really know about occult practices and Kabbalah? 'Cause I actually don't really know that much about Kabbalah. So maybe you can tell us the history of
I
it
mean,
and why you're drawn.
I there's better people to tell you history about it. I'm just gonna say it's a bunch of gobbledygook. It's a bunch of half truths. It's a bunch of distorted biblical principles. It's a bunch of lies. It's all meant to fill up your pride and help you manipulate people. And basically, my understanding of witchcraft and that kind of stuff through my experience of it and studying of it is that it really is just down to manipulation and deception. Like when we talk about pharmakia, people in the Bible, sorcery, pharmakia, the administering of drugs, right, to manipulate people. We see this in so many of the mystery traditions. We see this in so many of these different new agey groups, occult groups, is like giving people these drugs, lying to them, controlling them, manipulating them, creating your own little cult. Obviously there is more to witchcraft than just giving drugs and manipulation, but that is like a core tenet of it. Lying, deceiving, manipulating, that gives you power. If you know something that somebody else doesn't know and you convince them that this is true but it's not actually true, and it's not true but they don't know that, that gives you power over them. And then there is another level to it, which is like this invoking demons and calling on spirits and channeling spirits and stuff like that. I mean, that's really what Kabbalah is. I mean, Freemasonry is based in Kabbalah. It's this channeling demons and trying to gain wisdom and knowledge, worldly wisdom and knowledge, so that gives you power, money, success, wealth, all the things that the world offers you that leads to death and destruction, but that to people who don't know the truth of the church, that seems like that's what life's about. It's about getting power. It's about getting notoriety or renown or laurels from other people. It's about getting success. It's about, and that's like the opposite of what it's about. It's about serving others. It's about, you know, um, walking in the footsteps of Christ and uniting with the eternal and with the beautiful and with the good. And that is the opposite of what these traditions teach you. A lot of times they'll use the same sort of rhetoric, they'll use the same sort of language, they'll say some of the things, but the message is the polar opposite. It's like,
Yeah, it's all an
you are
inversion.
God. You are God, everything is nothing. That's how you can whittle all of these things down. It really is. It's like you're God, the power's in you, and everything is nothing, so everything's cool.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like if you can do it, you should do it. If you can be a predator on this world, like the world's predator and prey, and these dummies don't know nothing. And in our secret club, we know the stuff. So we'll teach you how to manipulate and deceive and get power and wealth. And by the time you realize that it's empty and hollow, hopefully it's not too late. Well, for a lot of people, it is too late. Um, but hopefully not.
Yeah.
Hopefully not. That's what we hope for, and we pray for our enemies, because that's another thing with this revolutionary spirit that we talked about. It, this idea that we have to do something, like these evil people in control of the world, like we have to overthrow the government or something like this. This idea that these jerks, like it fills you with anger. You see the injustice in the world, you see what appears to be evil thriving and succeeding, and you get all angry, and it's like, oh, we have to tear these people down. It's like, no, we have to pray for these people. You don't want to be these people. These Gil Bates and Schwab and all, you do not want to be these people at all. You know what I mean? Like, imagine being a person with a torn up soul like that, who's completely enslaved to their passions, who has all of this worldly power at their disposal, and nothing good, like nothing eternal, nothing to look forward to after. It's like they've made their bed. This is their reward. The reward for their evil is what they get. And because we've been raised in this world where we value things like wealth and being rich and being famous and being appreciated by the crowd and by the masses, to us, that seems like they're like living it up. Like, how awesome is that? They're the biggest slaves of all, you know? I mean, with Christ, we have true freedom. We have true freedom from our passions. We're able to subdue the passions and make the passions work for us and not the other way around. I mean, just try to imagine what it would be like to be Gil Bates. Like, can you imagine how awful that would be? You know, I mean, that's just, yeah. I forgot how I got on that topic.
Oh no, that was great. That was so good. Everybody watching right now, please leave a comment for Jerry in the comment section of this video and just tell him that he's right on. And again, not to build up pride, but just to you know, out of respect. That's all I'm saying. Because
Thank you.
I respect you, Jerry.
Thank you. I respect you as well.
And I don't know how much time we have. I forgot what time it started, but this is so much fun. Have you ever talked to anyone who is still in the occult about your Christian beliefs, and how do those kinds of conversations go?
Pretty awful, because I'm a pretty terrible apologist. I mean, it's like
Well,
something that I really want to get better at. I
it
really
doesn't
want
have to be an apologist kind of conversation, though.
well, it does kind of go there for me. But like I said, like, I have the desire to reach these people. Like, I just had a conversation with somebody, maybe yesterday or the day before, this guy that followed my channel, and we had some calls in Discord. He joined in with our Discord calls a few times, and then I came to find out that he has this like Gnostic worldview, and very much thinks that the Orthodox Church is corrupt and is evil. He basically equates it with like the Roman Catholic Church and things like that. And I like, half the time I'm like, okay, I'm just done. Like, I can't even have this conversation. There's better people, and I always try to point them to. I'm like, go here, talk to these people. You know, read this book. Like, but I just feel so inadequate to bring that to have that conversation. So like with this person, I haven't even messaged them back. I'm just like,
Yeah, so if all they want to do is show you that they're right and you're wrong, that's not
right,
going to be constructive. If the fruit is ripe, and you know, someone is really honestly, genuinely wanting to know more, and or can see the transformation in your life, and they
exactly.
have
Yeah.
questions,
Sometimes
that's
words
totally
don't,
different. Yeah.
yeah, sometimes words don't do it justice. Sometimes it is just that living by example, and people seeing the change in you. Um, and also it's like, if a person really sincerely, truly cares about the truth, then I will take the time. Um, but a lot of people who are into occultism, I don't think even would want to have that conversation, because if they understand what it is and they're still doing it, you know, they've kind of made that choice. But there are people like me who really are just deceived, and who
Right.
believe that it's the truth, you know. And with those people, you can reach them, because you can I can take them down the same path I went down, and show where it leads, and that it's not fruitful, that it actually hurts you and hurts your soul, and contrast it with the things that are life-giving, like the mysteries of the church.
My heart was too hard
Yeah.
to hear anything until last year, really.
Right.
The words of scripture started softening my heart, and that's how it started for me. So it's up to God, you know, it's not up to us. My godmother sent me a really good quote today. I'd like to share it with you if that's okay.
Sure.
She says, this is from Saint Theophan the Recluse. You ask, will the heterodox be saved? Why do you worry about them? They have a Savior who desires the salvation of every human being. He will take care of them. You and I should not be burdened with such a concern. Study for yourself your own sins.
Exactly. Yeah.
And, you know, I struggle because I created this channel. I have this huge mission to share with people, but I'm not trying to convert anyone. It's not up to me to convert anyone anyway. I'm just, like I said, just sharing, and
Well, it's important.
and I get those sweetest comments and messages on Instagram, and like we're saying before, like, not that that makes me prideful, like, hey, look at me, look what I'm doing. It's that it keeps me going, because I know that people are listening and finding value. And if I didn't get those comments, maybe I would stop making the videos. I don't know, maybe I would keep going, who knows? But what I'm saying is I am so grateful to all of you guys who watch, and like my moderators, thank you guys, and all my new friends. This has just been so much fun. And Jerry, I'm sure you had this experience too, of connecting with people. It's amazing we have the internet, like we wouldn't be able to connect with these other people that are on similar paths as us. And it's just like a family I never had when I was a witch. When I was taking drugs, I thought these are my people. At the Grateful Dead shows, oh, these are my people, I found my people. Nothing compared to what I'm experiencing now.
Yeah, it's people wrapped up in their own world, in their own head.
Enlightenment, on their own path to enlightenment. And the church is a family, like a real family.
Right. How can you connect with people who you don't really share? You can't be sure that you share anything. With us, we all share, the connection to the church. We all share wanting to be more Christ-like, wanting to imitate Christ, wanting to walk the royal path. So it's a lot easier for us to be on the same page and to make friends, because it's like we're not all kind of wrapped up in our own fantasy world. But yeah, I mean, that was a great quote that you read. I love that. That's spot on for sure. We shouldn't worry and fret over it. It doesn't mean that we can't influence people and have a positive impact on it, but it just means that God does that through us. It's not us that do it. You know what I mean? God uses us. So as long as we pray for discernment and pray that we understand God's will for our own lives, that's kind of, it'll happen, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. So that's a big part of living an Orthodox Christian life is really trying to find out what God's will is for your life, and then that will happen without you fretting and worrying about it, for sure. Right. And nobody comes to God who God doesn't call first, and so it is kind of in their own court. It's in every person's court. It's like when God taps you on the shoulder and it's like, hey, quit the nonsense. You have the choice to go with that, or to be like, nah, I'm gonna stay in the nonsense, so that's on each person. It's not really on us to shake those people up, but it is on us to live a good, godly Christian life so that we can influence people when God puts us in their lives to do so.
Wow, that was beautiful. So I feel like this is a good place to close. Maybe I can have you back on in a few months.
Yeah.
We can talk about something else. And is there anything else that you wanted to talk about today before we say goodbye?
No, I think we covered it all. It was super fun to talk to you. I'm glad we finally got to do this. I know we were trying to set it up for a while. We kept having issues. I had an issue, you had an issue. So I'm happy that we finally got to do it. And I wish you great success in your catechesis and your channel. And God bless to all the mods, viewers, and inquirers, and Orthodox and catechumens in the audience. And yeah, and that's all.
Okay, so everybody follow Jerry on his channel and his Instagram. Both are exposing powerful lies. And I think, is there a underline in between each word?
Yeah. Just look up exposing powerful lies and you'll find it. If you search it in Instagram, you'll find it.
Okay.
I think I'm the only one that's called that on Instagram. When I search it, all I see is myself. So I think it's,
well, like you said, it's a long name. So that's kind of the benefit of having a long name. It's going to be the only one.
Right, that's right. And nobody can forget it, because every time they see it in the chat, they're like, oh my goodness, look at that dude's long name. Why? It's memorable.
And just a big shout out again to my future godmother, who has been so supportive to me. I know a lot of you out there who follow me on Instagram know that I was very sick for much of September. I'm fine now, but my beautiful godmother took care of me, my fairy godmother. And again, to all of my friends and viewers and supporters, thank you so much. I have many more interviews coming up scheduled. In fact, this week I have John Pro, who's an iconographer. I don't know why I can never say that. That's the first try. Iconographer. And then Mia is coming back for episode 3 of our talks about leaving the New Age. So check that out and hit the bell and subscribe so you get the notifications when the premieres go live on my channel. So God bless you, everybody, and talk to you soon. Bye.